Welcome to the GLR Adobe campus. In today's tutorial we are going to combine some images together in order to make a mother and child image on this branch. So all these three images are going to be combined together, and in order to do that I need some extra space on the right hand side of this image. So I need to replicate the original image, and I can do that easily with the crop tool. So while selecting the crop tool, you probably know that you can make the image smaller, but we can make the image bigger as well. So if I extend it to the right, I need to replicate the original image over here, which isn't captured, or at least I don't have the information. But we can use the artificial intelligence of Adobe Sensei, with content aware, and in that way it will do its progress, it will do its magic in order to make a seamlessly looking background over here, which works perfect for me in order to add some images over here on the right hand side. Let's first start with the caterpillar, because the caterpillar needs to fit in on the branch, and I want to make a selection with it with use of the shape tools, of the path tools, which are very comparable with the way of working in Adobe Illustrator. So it's not really rocket science, but you need to know the differences. So let's take a look at, for instance, the pen tool. The pen tool has got its own selection, of course, in order to create a path and to adjust it along the way. We've got our path selection tool, which is very much different compared to the original move and selection tool over here. This makes a selection of your layers, this makes a selection of your shapes. But I think that makes sense. And of course, over here we can find the default shapes and a custom shape tool, which got its own library as well of shapes which you can use. So that's pretty cool. Let's start working with creating a few basic rectangles in order to explain how they work. Because when I select the rectangle tool and create a nice squared image like this, and another one, and another one, then all these shapes are well, not combined in one layer, but they all have their separate layers, and that's because of the fact that this option is selected. It's going to create a new layer for each single shape that I'm going to create. We can compare these options with, well, probably the Pathfinder in Adobe Illustrator. So we can also combine the shapes to one layer or subtract them if they are overlapping. Feel free to play around with it, but it's good to have a look at the combining shapes option. Let's Command Z and start creating again with the combine shapes option enabled. Let's create a shape and another one and another one, and now these shapes are in one layer, which makes perfect sense for demonstration purposes, because I want to select all of them. So let's select this one and this one as well, because then we can talk about how to align those images. So let's say we want to align them to the top end of the selection. That can be done easily, to the center, the bottom part, centered horizontally. All can be done over here. Distribution, it's going to leave some space in between. All these options can be done, but it's also great to know that you can align them to your canvas, and in that way we can easily center them in the center of our canvas. So those are the align tools which you can use together with the selection tool. And of course, the direct selection tool will allow you to select just one of the vertices and play around with it. Again, just like Illustrator would do. Okay, let's delete those and let's start working on the caterpillar. There we go. And that, of course, we can do with the path tool, and just make your selection. So first point, click and drag for your second point over here as well. Over here there's a little corner, if you will. So if I hold down the Alt key on my keyboard, I can break apart these bezier handles and continue on working on the other curves. Alt, etc. Well, I think you've got the idea, and let's continue on working on this this selection. When it's hard to see where you're working, of course we can lower the opacity, and makes it easier to see what you're doing. And while coming close to the end, the cursor will change. It will give you a little circle, and then it will close the path, and there we've got our shape layer. There we go. The shape layer also gives you a path in the path panel. There we go. And in that way we can easily create a selection from that. So load the path as a selection can be done easily. And in that way we can make use of it in order to create a mask as well. There we go. So that's working with the shape tool. It's also good to know that the selection over here can be saved as a selection. It's also good to know that this selection over here can be saved as well. So we can save it. Caterpillar, there we go, in order to make use of it later on. So if we don't have the shapes anymore, if we don't have the mask anymore, we can easily create the selection again from the select menu, load selection. Select your caterpillar. Okay, and there we've got our selection again. So quite easy to do. If we want to make sure that we are gonna place it as inside of the original caterpillar PSD, in the original branch PSD, I need to save it, of course, and then place it as an embedded file. And then we can place the file as an embedded file or a linked file. I always like to use linked files. That makes my file size of the branch PSD not too large. There we go. And now we can place it like we want to. So primarily this tutorial was about working with shapes, and did some extra things along the way, which I expect you need to know for your ACA exam. So please take a look at all the things that you've seen now about aligning the shapes, creating the shapes, but also loading a selection and stuff. Quite important to know your way of working with it. It's up to you now to make a selection of the butterfly as well with use of the path tool. Some quite interesting curves over here to get you working with the path tool, and add them to the branch as well, and put this image, this final image, also on your Spark Learning journal. Good luck!